words, but they will be your words, Lord. We ask that our actions will not be the actions of humans, but the actions of your will, Lord. And we just give over everything to your will, and we just ask that you just bless our nation. We ask that you bless our endeavors. Lord, we just ask that our best days are not behind us. Lord, that we would bow our knee before you and our leaders would come to you for inspiration and guidance. And we just ask that you be with us today. And we say these things in the name of our Lord and our Savior, Jesus the Christ. Amen. Okay, we're going to have my daughter, Madeline Counts, come up and sing the national anthem. If you would like to sing along with her, feel free. Madeline Counts.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that a flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
We have a special guest today. We have George Washington back from the grave to greet us. George, please join us. George.
"2,000 years ago, a Savior came from glory and shed his blood so that you and I might be free and liberated from sin. Fast forward to 2012, 11 years ago, we brought forth another covenant on this continent, a covenant in blood. As Christ's covenant in blood 2,000 years ago, we brought forth a covenant in blood for the liberty of mankind from tyranny. Now, 2012, in our day, we took the cloak of tyranny, this coat of King George III, and we trampled it into the dirt. We stomped upon it. But in 2012, you have picked the cloak of tyranny back up. And as you put this cloak of tyranny on again, it will be far worse than King George III could have ever imagined. You are at a demarcation line. America, what has been spent and bought for you by the blood of millions is now being trampled on the altar of tyranny. Unless you stop it, your children and your grandchildren will curse your graves.
make some noise. Get up off your feet. Let's go. Come on. We are not at a funeral. Are you fired up? Are you ready to get rid of this worthless president we have in the White House? Let them hear you in Washington. Let them hear you in Oklahoma City. Isn't it a sad country song? This is the time to get riled up. Thank you to Metallica for letting us use that old Clint Eastwood thing there. You guys ought to be fired up. Let me tell you something right now. I don't know if we can recognize the America that I grew up in, and some of you guys are older than me. Not many. Okay, I got you. Let me tell you something right now. We got an administration in the White House that is lying to the American people. We have a dead ambassador, and they do not want to tell the truth. And they have their cohorts in the lamestream media continue to beat the same dead drum. They want to have people like Chris Matthews bully a young man on the line and say it's all about a video. You got to be kidding me. And then you have the father of the dead SEAL who went to the rescue, who heard the call and went to the rescue and died. And what does our Secretary of State tell him, to this father? We're going to arrest and prosecute this filmmaker. For what, I ask you? For what? That man has freedom of speech. Guess what? There are lots of people in America that have vile opinions to me. But that's part of the American experiment, folks. If you aren't fired up now and you know the facts, then I don't know what's going to get you fired up. Because in America, someone can make a film. There's people that make pornography. They can make all kinds of racist comments. They can do all kinds of things. But that's part of the American experiment, is will you allow someone else to have their freedom of speech, even though it's offensive to you? And this man is imprisoned right now. He's incarcerated by the American government, and this administration and their cohorts in the media are just lying to the American people, and it's got to stop. Let me tell you something. We're going to thank a few people. The first thing we're going to thank God for bringing us here. We're going to thank God. We're going to thank the founders of this nation for setting up a government, taking the best of all the past societies and forming a government based on natural law, which says that you have inalienable rights because you have them from God, that no government gives you or takes away these rights. And right now we have the progressives in power, and they do not believe this. They are the antithesis of the Founding Fathers' view. So we want to give thanks to God and the rights that we have from His hand. Next, we would like to thank, not that Fred Perry would like step down from God, but we would like to thank Fred Perry for helping us secure this location and helping us get this moving along. We have a great location here with some bleachers and parking and everything else. We'd like to thank KFAQ for sponsoring us all the past 4 years, helping the American. Yes, give them a hand. Give them a hand. KFAQ and Brian Gann, Elvis Polo, Eddie Huff, Pat Campbell, all of them have worked with the Tea Party. They've worked with the independent citizen patriots who are trying to take back their country. They've taken their time, given us free airtime, and we want to give them a lot of support. So if you can make sure you listen to their shows, support the advertisers on their radio station. And I would like to thank every patriot, every one of you that have walked for a candidate, that votes time in and time out. We want to thank all these people that have taken their time to run for office and try to make a difference. I do want to make an announcement. Yes. From 3 to 5 today, At the southwest corner of 71st and Mingo, there's going to be a sign wave. Whoever wants to come out and join Larry Williamson and bring a sign and just support of no on Vision 2 or for your candidate. There's going to be people that are going to gather there and have their signs ready and do a sign wave for a couple hours. So if you would like to join and do something like that, please go out there and take advantage of that. That'd be awesome. You can get together and fellowship with some fellow conservatives. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to go to our speakers. The first speaker was going to be Jim Bridenstine. He had an event in Okmulgee today, but he has fallen ill. And so they made a calculated effort to say, well, not calculated effort, but they made a calculated decision to say, well, he could be down 2 or 3 days, or he could just be down today. So I'm going to say a few words on his behalf. I want you to go out there and support Jim and make sure you vote for him if you haven't already voted. If you're like me and you do the absentee, my votes are already in for Mr. Romney and Mr. Bridenstine against Vision 2. That's right. But Jim has a triple major in business, economics, and psychology. He also has a MBA, so he understands business, he understands economics, he understands what makes an economy run, and he believes in limited government. And what got him off the stump to start running was that he wanted to stop this out-of-control spending that's in Washington and in all the state capitals, and that's what got him on the campaign trail. So I want you to support him. He's concerned about what's going on in Washington. He wants to follow the Constitution and put the enumerated powers of the federal government back in place, push the things that should be state powers back to the states and back to the people. So I want you to make sure you vote for Jim Bridenstine. Charles, you're going to be next. But let me make you, there is a bus leaving for Colorado tomorrow from Oklahoma City. There is 2 to 4 seats left. That's going to be from October 28th to November 2nd, be returning in the morning of November 2nd. It's free to ride on this bus, but what you're going to be doing is walking neighborhoods. There's no phone calls, but you're going to Colorado, a swing state where we need all the support we can get to push Romney over the top. If you want to walk some neighborhoods, get involved. If you've got the time, get active. Let me give you a phone number, and you can call this gentleman. His name is Steve Fair. It's 405-990-7449. Again, you'll be taking a bus to Colorado, and you'll be walking neighborhoods in support of Romney and in support of conservative candidates in the Denver area. So if you want to do that, they leave tomorrow, so you need to get on the ball because there's only 2 to 4 seats left. Right now, I want to bring up Charles Bartel, a very good friend of mine. He is a veteran combat pilot from Vietnam era, flew combat missions. He has an MBA and 30 years in the information technology sector, and he maintains the Tulsa for Sustainable Freedom website. And he's going to come up in support of the fair tax. Let's give Charles a round of applause.
Good morning, Tulsa. Yesterday morning I was at breakfast, and I want to thank Don Wyatt for telling me I needed to speak today. That was at the Tulsa 912 Project, the 4th Friday morning at the IHOP, 71st and Garnett. Rhonda, I got your plug-in for you. I've been asked to speak about the fair tax, and I assume most of you know what's in the fair tax, and it's kind of boring to go through each and every little part of that. So I tried to be a little bit different, and what I've come up with is the top 10 reasons for implementing the fair tax. Number 10. Where's my drum roll? I think he's across the street drinking coffee. Number 10, it proves the average citizen is 6 times smarter than a congressman. If you remember, just a few months ago, Congress couldn't find $1.2 trillion in savings. Is that so? Well, the fair tax saves $600 billion a year in real savings, which ends up to be $6 trillion over 10 years. 6 times better than what Congress couldn't do. Number 9, it's employee friendly. With the fair tax, if you collect a salary, you get 100% of your paycheck. I've been around a long time. I've never seen 100% of my check. Number 8, it's environmentally friendly. Right, we're all for the green environment. The fair tax taxes only new items. So it puts a benefit on you to reuse items that you've had around for a while, or to sell it to somebody else so they can get some use out of it. If that is not green, I don't know what's green. It's federal deficit friendly. This is number 7. It cuts the annual federal deficit in half, from over $1 trillion to $600 billion. And this is real cuts, not those cuts on what we think we should get that you normally hear from your congressman. Number 6. It's investment friendly. You pay no taxes on interest on your bank account. Anybody have a 401k? Tax-free if you vote in the fair tax. Same with your IRA. Same with bond interest or any sale of stock. And it kind of helps on the record keeping too. Number 5, the fair tax is security friendly. You know how the government's always posting private information? Well, with the fair tax, there's no reason for the government to have your mortgage account, your bank accounts, your investment accounts, your insurance accounts. There's no reason for them to have your personal information. Number 4, for all of us seniors, it's retirement friendly. Social Security benefits will no longer be taxed. We have a number of ladies in the audience. Number 3 is for you. It's shopping friendly. It eliminates $243 billion spent annually on compliance with the tax code. That saves corporations money, so they have more money and they can possibly reduce prices. And it also puts more money in your pocket instead of having to go to a tax preparer. So it's shopping friendly. Number 2, it's job friendly. One thing about the fair tax is it taxes foreign imports the same amount that American manufactured goods are taxed. So free trade is negated against all of the taxes that we pay in our companies before the product's completely manufactured. So it puts a benefit on American-made goods, and goods made here, shipped overseas, are much cheaper. We're down to number 1. Number 1 is it's Obamacare friendly. My understanding is implementing the fair tax would repeal 20 of the 21 new taxes in Obamacare. And if you can't remember all those, I have one more bonus for you. Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama don't like it. Thank you.
Just in, we have some secret audio from a couple of Democrats. Oh, before I forget, who here is registered independent? Okay, we got a few independents. Do we have any brave Democrats that want their party back? Any? Okay, well, we tried. Who here is a Republican? Woo! Okay, we're bipartisan. All right, we got that out of the way. Any libertarians in the crowd? No? Okay, well, you all have you. We've got some secret audio from a couple of Democrats that are scheming and just do not like Republicans, and we've got the secret audio. We're going to try to play it for you right now. Breaking news. I said try. We're trying.
Scared me to death. Oh, Republicans, Dillard. Oh, we got to get out the vote. We cannot let them Republicans get into office, Dillard. You know what they'll do? What? You know what they'll do? What? They'll tell all the policemen we don't need you. Oh. Tell all the fire people, go on home, we don't need you. All y'all teachers, get out of here. We don't even want to have school. No, Dillard, they'll take every single one of the little old grannies in their wheelchairs, line them up, and then they'll just push them off the cliff. One at a time. Push off your grannies. Your granny. That's right. She fall on off of the cliff into that water. It's not clean water, Dillard. Dirty. Republican. Yeah, your granny stand there swimming and trying to get a breath. Comes up and she gets a breath. And it's not clean air, Dillard. It's dirty, Republican, polluted air, and so she just goes under. Oh no, she dies like a rat in the sewer, Dillard. Because that's what they do. You got to get out the vote. You out and vote, Dillard. Are you voting? Well, of course I'm voting for Barack Obama. Do you think I'm voting? Well, Dillard, I know I'm trying to challenge my genealogy. Of course, my family for generations has gone into that poll booth and stamped the donkey. I know you stamped the donkey, Dillard. I wouldn't have married you if you didn't stamp the donkey. That's right. I don't even know a Republican. Do you? No. You ever seen one? My great-granddad, they used to tell me scary stories about Republicans. Oh. He'd tell us stories about deep in the middle of the night, out around the campfire. He'd be telling us these stories, Donna. He told us one night how the Republicans would drive up to their little cabin around those windy roads at night, Donna, and their windows would be open and the dollar bills would just be flying out all four windows. And that money, Donna, and then pull right up there to our house. The little house. Get out there and start jingling their money, just taunting us with their change. And then they'd make fun of us, Donna. Because you were Democrats. We were Democrats because we were poor. And then they come up and take our shoes. Why? Why? Take your shoes. I don't know. But all I know is our great-granddaddy told us that's why we was always barefooted. Because of the Republicans took our shoes. Wow.
If you want to see that, that is under Dillard and Donna on YouTube. It is from our friends John and Vicky Joe Whitty, who play characters, Dillard and Donna, and it should be on our website, okfortea.com, later today if you want to watch the skit. They have a few funny ones. It is pretty funny to watch it live, but anyway, that's John and Vicky Joe Whitty playing Dillard and Donna. Right now we're going to bring up Amanda Teagarden. Let me read her bio here so I can give it to you if I haven't lost it running around. Amanda is Executive Director of OK Safe Incorporated. That's Oklahomans for Sovereignty and Free Enterprise. OK Safe works to educate, advocate, and lobby the Oklahoma legislature on issues in defense of life, liberty, and property. Their websites are ok-safe.com and exposinghealthcarereform.com. Let's give a warm welcome to Amanda Teagarden.
Good morning. Isn't it? It's a beautiful day. All right, my job today was to give a list of usurpations and abuses by the government. We don't have all day. So I'm going to give you a short, abbreviated list, but I'm going to start at first by give you a little quote out of the Declaration of Independence. Maybe these words sound familiar. It says, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." And in this context, the pursuit of happiness was understood to be property. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That would be us. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and institute new government. Now, we have a moral responsibility to be engaged in the entire process. Voting is one part of that. Where we have failed as a people, in general, is to watch them like a hawk after they got elected. We made a lot of assumptions that if we elected somebody who claimed to be a Christian, who was for limited government, to support the Constitution, etc., that they would make good decisions. Well, look at the result. We have a government that is beyond large. We can't even comprehend how large the reach and scope of it is. We have a government that is not a respecter of the people, but an entity that is a power and a force that is working to not only destroy this country, but destroy any remaining liberties that you have as an individual. The same is true in the state of Oklahoma. Now, OK Safe just focuses on the state of Oklahoma. We work to advocate, educate, and lobby that Oklahoma legislature. And we were started in 2006 by 13 people. Looking back, I would say those were 13 pretty naive people, because we had a lot of assumptions about what's happening in a conservative state like Oklahoma at our legislature. The issue we were lobbying on was the Trans-Texas Corridor. And we were convinced that all we had to do was show those legislators what was happening, and they would all understand, and they would all vote no. We had a battle. First off, to try to convince them that anything was actually happening and that Oklahoma could be impacted by what was happening in Texas. The other thing we learned a lot in those first couple of years, is that the people of Oklahoma in general know more than the elected officials do when it comes to actually what's happening. So don't assume that because they're an elected official, that their IQ is higher than yours, or that they have more information than you do. That's not the case in every case. We do have some exceptions. The other thing we realized is that what they tell you in the media is not what's actually happening at the Oklahoma Capitol. There's a big disconnect. Then we found out, well, they're writing their own press releases. So of course everything's fine and dandy and they're the heroes of the day. But when you actually go to read the piece of legislation and look at not only its intent, but the effect of that piece of law, we're growing government. And it's grown at an exponential rate, which I'm sad to report, since the Republicans took the majority. Now, I'm not anti-Republican. What I am against is lying when you're marketing yourself, right? We don't want to be lied to. If you're for limited government, you should be standing for limited government. If you're pro-life, then you stand for life. If you're for liberty, then you stand for liberty. We have lost a lot in the last 6 or 7 years, and government has grown. Our state budget now is at $6.8 billion. That's a huge increase over what it was just a few years ago. That's not limited. I'll give you a few lists of some of the other things that are happening at our legislature to try to encourage you that you need to be involved in the legislative process after the vote. They need to know, every elected official needs to know, you don't just need to know who they are at the state, they need to know who you are. We have elected officials who do not advance legislation that comes from the district that they represent. They refuse to hear it. They make up rules and say we can't hear those bills because we don't have time, and then they end early. They have advanced legislation which is for a certain group of people, but not the people in general. We would call those the elites that represent the larger corporations and maybe the chambers of commerce and something called the Business Roundtable, but not your Second Amendment laws that actually protect your rights to Second Amendment, not the personhood bill, not the bill that prohibits an RFID tag in your driver's license, and the list goes on. All those bills got put aside. The bills that also would have reduced the impact of the federal government in the state of Oklahoma got put aside and refused to be heard. We have a lot of excuses by our legislators on why they're not going to advance legislation that originates with the people in their own district. One day when I was lobbying, I asked the legislature, because I was overwhelmed by how many laws they're actually hearing every year. The House, over 1,000. In the Senate, over 1,000. Now how can you have good government? We're supposed to be limited government. God gave us 10 commandments, right? I asked one day how many laws are on the books in the state of Oklahoma. The message went up to staff. Staff sent down, well, what do you mean? Do you mean criminal law or civil law? Which kind of laws do you mean? I said, well, whatever laws that affect the people, whichever. Well, they couldn't even number them. I later found out that the number of laws that are possibly on the books are around 50,000. We went from 10 to 50,000. Now, are you feeling very free with 50,000 laws and rules and regulations governing your every move? I don't feel very free. I can't believe 50,000, so I cut it back to 30,000. It's a little better, but it's still outrageous. So instead of every year asking a legislator, how many laws did you add to the books, we need to be asking, how many laws have you repealed? Repeal needs to be the call of the day. Our legislature needs to be not implementing something called public-private partnerships, which they are. And a public-private partnership is where government partners with a select industry and then brings in academia. This is based on the European model. That is not an American model for business. That's not free enterprise, and that's not fair to the corporations that aren't the partner with the government. We opposed the Real ID Act in the state of Oklahoma and passed a law that says we're not going to have the Real ID Act. Do you know that to this day we have almost everything on it? On our driver's license is compliant with the Real ID Act except the little gold star and one other thing? We passed a law, it was the will of the people to not have the Real ID Act, and yet we're almost 100% compliant. I talked to one legislator about why it was increasing a fee 300%. And he said, well, it hadn't been increased in a while. 300% on one fee, and the justification was it hadn't been increased in a while. Do you know that we have given away $68 million just in fiscal year 2012 to something called the Quality Jobs Act? $68 million. That's taxpayer money. From the Oklahoma Tax Commission, they write checks to corporations for the pleasure of their business. Would you like to know some of the companies that got those money, that's your money? Halliburton and Walmart and Chesapeake. Those are multi-billion-dollar corporations. Do you really think that Halliburton needs some help? Walmart? They get almost all my money anyway. We have over 500 authorities, boards, commissions, and trusts. They're called the ABCs, or agencies. Our legislature in 2010, or 2011, at the last week, created another trust. Have you heard of the Oklahoma Health Information Exchange Trust, the OHIAT? That one, you might hear about a little bit later on, is busy implementing all the provisions of Obamacare in the state of Oklahoma. What's wrong with the trust? If you live in Tulsa, you already know what's wrong with the trust because now we got communist trash cans, right? Because the chair board said so. That's what a trust can do. This trust can solicit and receive federal grants, award contracts, and issue bonds, go into debt. It's a public beneficiary trust. They're very hard to retire. And once they've incurred debt, if you want to get rid of them, guess who has to assume the debt? We do. And in the meantime, they're meeting every single month, implementing all the provisions of Obamacare except the insurance exchange. Now, we voted against that. Remember? We put it in our Constitution that we're opposed to it. So what's happening? Opposite of what the will of the people was. One or two other things here I wanted to point out. With that health care reform, we are instituting electronic health records, which is a cradle-to-grave record on every single person. We did pass and institute electronic birth records. We did pass and institute electronic death records. Jenny White with ROPE is probably going to talk about the Common Core standards and those school records. So now what we have done in the state of Oklahoma is create an electronic record that is literally from cradle to grave and includes all your school records, your work records, and if we get that insurance exchange, which we have had to fight against for, almost 2 years now in the state of Oklahoma, we're going to have a complete cradle to grave picture and you won't be able to move and you're going to have a lighter pocketbook. Drones. Yeah, everybody heard about the drones? All right. What was a drone? Drone was created as a war-fighting surveillance technology. It was created by the Department of Defense for a war zone. Now they're being flown over Oklahoma, and this is called a job creator. Now that's not the kind of job creation I'm thinking of when they're talking about job creations. I don't want to be spied on. We're not the enemy. So that's not the kind of job creation that we're looking for. I'm going to conclude here by saying that we have a moral responsibility to be engaged after the vote. That's what OK Safe does. We try to train people on how to do that. It's really important. Just because they say they're a good guy and they may have the best of intentions, you got to babysit them once they're elected and watch every single thing that they do. You will get a better servant, a better public servant, if they know that they're under your observation. We're not angry at them. We've ignored them for far too long. It's our responsibility to make sure that they know that we're watching and that they have a responsibility to do what they campaigned and said that they were going to do. Let's all get engaged after the vote and make no assumptions one way or another. May God bless America.
I like the bruises.
Thank you, Amanda. I want to bring your attention, even when, it's a small enough venue that you can come and take a look at some of the booths that are out here. These are organizations that are ran by grassroots folks that have just basically said, I've got to do something about things that are not right in society. And, they've got information, how you can get involved, things that you can do. It tells more about their organizations. J.W. Barry will go into more about that later. But just for the OK for Tea thing, there's things that you can buy that helps with fundraisers. I don't know if the other groups, I think they have that as well. And even if you didn't want to buy anything, we've got water for $1 and a donation box, because things like this are put on. Literally, we do not have sugar daddies in the conservative movement. So how we put on things like this and how we help get the message out is just through small donations and helping with the fundraising from our grassroots organizations. So support those. Right now I'm going to bring up State Representative Dr. Mike Ritz from House District 80 in Broken Arrow. And I'm going to tell you something. A couple years ago, a few years ago in 2009, I went with another friend of mine who is a representative, not quite as conservative as I would like, but a nice person nonetheless. But I literally have sat in that gallery and seen Dr. Ritz 99 to 1, and he was the one no vote. I've seen that. Now that takes some guts, folks, and that takes core values and core beliefs. And that's the thing that a lot of Americans lack right now, is they lack the education about what their core values of America are, what the founding principles are. But this gentleman knows what they are by heart. He doesn't even have to look it up. It's embedded in him. Let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Mike Ritz.
Morning. Glad to see you all out on this nice brisk morning. It's a beautiful day the Lord hath made. I am Mike Ritz. I am representing District 80 in Broken Arrow, South Broken Arrow, Bixby. With the redistricting, they put me a little bit over into Wagner County, but we weren't opposed the last couple elections, so we were able to help some other great candidates like our new Senator-elect Nathan Dahm and Ken Walker, and hopefully we'll see Jim Bridenstine take it home with the final congressional race. And there are some great races coming down the pike in the other side of the state. Over in Oklahoma City, Dan Fisher, many of you know him. Hopefully we'll have him in the legislature. And we need good constitutionalists in the legislature. It really basically cancels out our effectiveness. And as Tom said, many times we're the lone ranger out there trying to stand for what is truth and the American way, and especially stand up to the Constitution. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about, and we've had some forums on the state ballots. If you kind of keep on brevity's sake here, if you want to know a lot about it, what our thoughts are, why we voted certain ways to bring these ballots, and why we voted not to bring these ballots, you can contact me at mike.ritz, R-I-T-Z-E, at okhouse.com, and I'll be glad to tell you what our rationale was on these state ballots. The judges, there are two constitutional judges that I would recommend retaining. The rest of them, I'd throw them out. The Supreme Court justices. The two judges that I would retain are Judge Lewis and Judge Buettner. They are very pro-life. They are constitutional judges, and I think that they will continue to do a good job, and hopefully we can send some others down there with them. You know, we pass a budget every year in the Oklahoma legislature, and we have a balanced budget amendment, balanced budget, actually law on the books. And it's kind of an oxymoron. It's like dry water. It basically, you can balance the budget two ways. You can raise taxes or you can cut spending. And basically my agenda is to cut spending, to bring government and rein it in, to make sure that government lives like we do in the private sector. And as a citizen legislator, as a family physician who's, you know, someone asked me one time if I can get along with people. I said, well, I've delivered over 2,000 babies. If you get along with 2,000 pregnant ladies, you get along with anybody. But we try to get along, but unfortunately we have this disease over at the legislature that it's called ignore the Constitution. And so what I look at is three ways to basically pass a law or defeat a law. Is number one, or a bill. If it is constitutional, if it's godly, if it's moral, what's the cost of it? And if it doesn't pass any of those tests, 3 or 4 ways, then I'm going to be a no vote. And I'm always accused that my green button is broken, but I do a lot of no votes. There's a lot of you know, information that is probably not passed down to some of the legislators, but I find it hard to believe that most of the legislators don't know really what the right thing to do is, but they're convinced by the chambercrats. And speaking of the chamber, you know, the chamber has communist roots. And if you go back and read the background of the founding of the National Chambers of Commerce, they were communists and socialists that started that organization. They try to be pro-business maybe 10% of the time, but most of the time they're not on our side. And I tell them that. I said, if you got something that's good, like this intangible tax, anytime there's a bad tax out there, I'm going to vote to get rid of that bad tax and this intangible tax and this property tax to lower your value of your homes. That's one way. To 5 to 3%, I think there's good opportunities to get rid of bad taxes. Now, there are good taxes, and you might say, whoa, well, I've never heard of a good tax. Well, I'd like to tax abortion to where it went out of existence. Or Oh, I'd like to tax, liquor and tobacco to where it's out of existence. But, we don't have always that opportunity, but when we do, we step up, and those are good taxes. Some of the things that we're working on that are continuance of what we've had is this terrible, terrible Obamacare. This situation, and we can talk for a long time about this, but this is not just a grab of your health care. This is a grab of your rights. There's 159 new agencies that will be controlling this that haven't even implemented the law yet. What we have, as Senator Brogdon, former Senator Brogdon, and I worked to get the opt-out constitutional amendment that you all voted hopefully for. At least 64% of Oklahomans voted to give us the choice to opt out. And then the Supreme Court came down and said that it's really not about health care. It's really about a tax. And I scratched my head and I thought, well, now we have Roberts Care instead of Obamacare. And so we need to continue to further the process and nullify. Nullification was used at the founding of the country by Thomas Jefferson and James Madison. And when they signed the Virginia and the Kentucky compacts, was the 13 colonies who created the federal government, not the other way around. We have to remind our federal officials that it's the states that created the federal government, not the other way around. And as a result, we have a certain amount of veto power in nullification, or you also hear the term called interposition. And our new Senator-elect Dom and I will be running that bill through the legislature. We authored it a couple years ago. I should say, I don't know whether they were sorry leadership or the leaders in our Republican caucus wouldn't bring it to a vote. I got it through the Judiciary Committee 12-4, which is one of the hardest committees to get through because they're all lawyers and they stare you down and try to bluff you. And I just said, hey, here's the Constitution. Either you believe in it or you don't believe in it. And we have a bill that we'll bring back up called Nullification of Obamacare, and it really puts some teeth in it that if any federal official tries to force Obamacare on us, they can be subject to a felony, to be arrested, they can be a $5,000 fine, imprisonment, and we're putting that back in there. It'll be there from the beginning, and hopefully we can work it through the process. And it also says if a state official tries to force Obamacare on us, they can be subject to a misdemeanor imprisonment, and so this is something that 12 states are looking at. I just came back from Houston at a national conference down in there for a couple of days, and at my own expense, basically we talked to several Texas legislators, and you're probably aware Texas only meets every 2 years, which we probably should only do, but they only meet every 2 years, and as a result, have a little background noise here. Oh, wait a minute. Anyway, we met with several Texas legislators, and they're going to introduce the nullification of Obamacare in Texas. So there'll be about 13 or 14 states now that are going to be doing that. So we'll continue. If you want more information, I'm going to need your help. The original language is House Bill 1276. It'll have a new number once we introduce it starting next month. And we'll have the opportunity to work it through the process, to educate a lot of people. I know that OK for Tea and OK Safe and OAKPAC and a lot of other groups out there will be helping us lobby this bill to get it through. We don't have, as was mentioned by the previous speakers, we don't have the funds to have 600 lobbyists down there doing the session like George Kaiser does and some of the others, but we've got the people. And the people in all 77 counties, we remind ourselves, went red last time, and we're even going to go redder. Last March, when we had the presidential primary, he only got 55% of his own Democrat Party in Oklahoma. So that tells you that we're very conservative, we're very faith-based, and when we look at this nullification, this is something that we hope we can get support. There's a lot of backstabbing, I should say, and a lot of the different organizations that you think should be on board, like the Medical Association and the Hospital Association, they made deals with the Obamacare law to begin with. A couple other bills that we're going to look at and probably help work with Senator Dom and maybe Senator Shorty and some of the others will be trying to get rid of this awful Agenda 21, which is if you haven't studied it, I want you to be sure and look into this, because it is a total takeover by the United Nations and those organizations that want to come in and further make us under their slavery and under their edicts and their ideas at a local basis, not only a state basis. And so we're going to author legislation or co-sponsor legislation, if Senator Dom wants to be the Senate author, about trying to abolish Agenda 21 or keep it from coming into Oklahoma. And just as a sideline, as I was coming over here today, I got caught up in traffic. You know, in Texas just recently, this last week or two, just increased some of their highway speed limits up to like 80 or 85 miles an hour. And I thought, well, that's not a bad idea to make our turnpikes and some of our toll roads, bump them up to 80 miles an hour so we can get there quicker back and forth to fight this tyranny that's going on in Oklahoma City. But our doors are always open. If you have any questions about the state questions or the judges or anything that you want to know about what our ideas are. And I forgot to mention something that you all probably saw in the newspaper, but after the budget was, I guess, agreed upon, and I don't know if you followed this, but the last budget that we passed at the legislature locked up for 3.5 hours at 47:47. And they worked, they twisted arms. They brought back one of the legislators, Representative Watson from Tulsa, who was attending his wife who was ill. They waited 3.5 hours to try to convince people, legislators, to change their vote in the House. And it only passed by one vote. And I'm not going to expose who that was, because he ran for Congress and lost in the 2nd District. But, you know, I think what happened here is we saw the people really waking up to a type of legislation that was unconstitutional. So after that legislation, we wrote some letters. Some of the other legislators wrote letters to the Department of Ag, because they allocated $2.5 million to the Oklahoma State Fair Youth Expo, and that's a private organization. Strictly forbid under the Oklahoma Constitution to give any public funds to a private organization. I'm not against 4-H or FFA or youth livestock. We were very active in 4-H and grew up as a 4-H'er. All of our kids did. But you don't give public funds, when the Constitution says, to a private organization. So we wrote letters to the Department of Ag. We wrote letters to the governor. Why did you sign this? Don't sign this, first of all. Why did you sign it after she signed it? Why did you give this money to a private organization? Some time we got answers, sometime we were just ignored. So finally, last month, Representative Reynolds and Senator Shorty and some others, we filed, a lawyer actually came to us from Oklahoma City and said he would represent us free of charge if we would just pay for some simple court costs. And we filed a lawsuit against the governor, the Department of Ag, the state treasurer, for allocating $2.5 million that wasn't even in the budget, but it was passed along after the budget was passed. And so we're very encouraged that this lawsuit will move forward, that the courts will step up and realize that they really were out of their league when they passed this in the legislature, and they passed it illegally. So we will keep you informed, and I'm sure the Tulsa World and the other liberal rags out there will tell us about what's going on. So anyway, God bless you. Thank you for being here. Make sure you vote, and vote for the right issues, and please help us, because it's you all that make sure that we are kept on the straight and narrow. Have a good day.
When I see George Washington in heaven,
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Bringing these legislators up, it reminds me of something. Each one of you, every citizen needs to know who their state and federal representative and senator is. You need to have it in your favorites on your computer so that when you see something on the news, see something come across your email chain, you can let them know what your opinion is. Because you would not believe how much difference that makes when they get the input from the citizens, okay? Because otherwise it's just their opinion, and you're leaving it just up to them. So let them know what you think. Right now we're going to bring up Rhonda from Tulsa 912 Project. I'll tell you what, I'm going to give props to Tulsa 912 because they have really, in some parts of 2011, 2012, our group, OK for T, got really hit. A lot of personal issues and things really almost knocked us off our feet for a little while, and we just got back up. But to tell you what, while we were down for a few months with a lot of personal issues, we really applaud Tulsa 912 for just staying in there, kind of staying in the alley fight, so to speak, and just staying punching and keeping the fight going. And they've really just done a great job. And we want to bring up Rhonda from Tulsa 912 to speak on a few things right now. Let's give her a warm welcome.
Are you awake out there? Now, are you really awake? Okay, now you know that once you're awake, you cannot go back to sleep, right? Once these elections are over, you can't go back to bed. This is a constant thing. We're in the shape we're in right now because we went to sleep assuming that because one party or the other was in charge. We can't do that anymore. It's up to us to keep an eye on what they're doing. So, and I want to know, are you doing all that you can right now? We've got less than 10 days until this election. And this is the most important election of any of our history. The first president I got to vote for was Ronald Reagan. We need another Ronald Reagan. So what we're going to do is we're working with the Madison Project, which is a part of the American Majority, and we're sending a team to Joplin, Missouri next weekend. So if you're interested and would like to give a few days of your time, we're going to take care of transportation. They're also going to pay for your room in Joplin, and they're going to offer a per diem for your food. Now, we have a Senate seat that can be won in Missouri. This could possibly be the 51st senator that could repeal Obamacare. So if you've got a little bit of time, if you can take a couple of days off of work, if you are retired and really want to do something that's going to make a huge difference, then I ask that you go over to our booth and you give us your name and contact information because we would love to have you participate. Missouri, Oklahoma is okay. Okay, literally, Oklahoma is okay, but we've got to help out. We've got to help out in these swing states. Colorado, the GOP is sending people to Colorado this weekend or next week. We're wanting to send people up to Joplin. Joplin's not that far away, and even if you want to drive your own vehicle, they'll pay for your gas. So there's no excuse not to go. So if you can and you're interested or you know somebody that might, if you might want to just get out there and help, if you would go to our booth and sign up for the Missouri trip, I would greatly appreciate it. Now, also, we have at our booth the Christian vote pins. Now, here's a sad statistic. 50% of Christians are not even registered to vote. And of the 50% that are registered to vote, only 50% of them do vote. So what kind of an effect do you think it would be if we got 100% of the Christian registered voters out there to vote? We would make a huge difference in this nation. The Christian vote pen just says vote. The T is a cross. You can get them at our booth. If you want to make a donation for it, fine. If you don't, I just want you to wear it. And when people ask you, it's to remind people to get out and vote, because that's important, that we make sure that these people get out. We cannot take anything for granted this election cycle. This is a monumental election, and it's up to us to make a difference, because if we don't, we will not recognize our nation, and it will never ever go back to what we once knew. Now I'm going to switch hats. I'm sure you guys have heard about the Vision 2 project that they're proposing on the ballot this election for Tulsa County. I am part of the Citizens for a Better Vision, which is opposing the Vision 2 project. And I ask that you give serious consideration. If you're thinking of voting in favor, I want you to give serious consideration to just a couple of things. Number one, in Proposition 2, where everybody gets their feel-good money all around the counties, there is nothing in Proposition 2 that is tied to specific projects. Now, they'll tell you what they want to spend the money on, but there's no contractual obligation for that. If it was, it would be on the ballot. Just like yesterday in the paper when the commissioners came out and said, yeah, we think that American Airlines should make a commitment before we spend the money from Vision 2. Well, what they think and what they do are two different things, and if it's not in writing, it doesn't mean anything. So you give serious consideration to that. So these are only suggestions. And then nothing is going to be decided on until November 6th after this is passed. So if it passes, all of these projects are going to be decided by 7 individuals. The 3 county commissioners, the mayor of Tulsa, and 3 mayors from any of the surrounding cities. Their meetings will be held in secret and in private. You will not have access to any public. You're not going to be able to get any freedom of information. You can't get an open records report on how they came up with these projects. You're just going to be stuck footing the bill for it. So this is not a good thing. This is, and you've heard it, I'm sure, from our side. We say that Vision 2 is too soon, because Vision 2025 is not completed until the end of 2017, or at the beginning of 2017. So it's over 4 years in advance. We don't know what our city's going to be like in 4 years. We don't even know what's going to happen in 4 years. We don't know what's going to happen in December. So it's too soon. We've got to have a better plan. It's too much. It's almost $750 million, and of that, almost 100 million of it will go to nothing more than fees and interest. It's too soon. How many people before August had heard of Vision 2? Okay, August 8th, they introduced it to the public. August 13th, our county commissioners voted overwhelmingly to place it on the ballot for November 6th. There was no public discourse. They'll tell you that they allowed the public to talk, but that was only after the decision had been made to be placed on the ballot, and that was only 4 suggestions on how to spend the money. So don't be fooled about their political double talk. It's too sloppy. The only plan that they have a distinct plan for is the airport buildings. And that really should have been taken care of by the tenants, because they pay way below market value for their rent. And it's in their contractual lease that they be responsible for maintenance, repairs, and upgrades. So that we don't need to be doing that, and they'll tell you it's about jobs. Now, if you listen to Dewey Bartlett, and I try to listen to him, on Tuesday we were going to lose 15,000 jobs if we did not pass this. Now, on Thursday, it's 25,000 jobs. So I figure by the time we get to November 6th, it's going to be a ghost town if we don't pass this. So I am asking that you please give serious consideration and vote no on Proposition 1 and 2 on the county ballot. Now, we've got vote no signs, we've got vote no buttons, we've got vote no bumper stickers. Yesterday, the ethics report came out on the people that are supporting Vision 2. They've spent almost $600,000 to convince you that this is a good idea. I can tell you we've spent less than $15,000 to try to convince you that it's not. If it doesn't feel good in your gut, it's a bad thing, and it shouldn't be voted on. That's the same way it was when the same feeling that you felt when George Bush wanted to push TARP and that Barack Obama wanted to push the stimulus package, and we had that feeling in our gut that it was not the right thing. This is not the right thing. Tulsa can do better. Please vote no on Prop 1 and 2 of Vision 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Rhonda. Thank you, Tulsa 912. I want to thank Harold and Martha Vermillion for providing the sound and all the tech support today, because trust me, it took me 6 months to hook up a Blu-ray player, and we don't have 6 months to wait for people to speak over intercom. So, okay, right now I'm going to bring up probably the youngest House of Representatives member in Oklahoma, Mr. Nathan Dahm from District 33. Senator. Correct me. Okay, he was a missionary, Christian missionary in Romania from 2001 to 2007. He's not on the ballot. He's already been elected. He is definitely very knowledgeable in the United States Constitution, and just like Representative Ritz, it's in his gut, it's in his heart. He doesn't have to go and to the reference the Constitution in his pocket. He already knows what his core values are. He came back from Romania and he saw a different America, and that has given him the drive to run for a couple offices, and he's finally gotten elected, and we're glad he has, because now he's going to be in there fighting for the Oklahoma citizens. Let's give Nathan Dahm a warm welcome. Thank you.
Thank you all for having me out today. I do want to talk about something very controversial. I want to talk about the Constitution. Like Tom said, I do very much respect the Constitution. I've studied it. I studied extensively when I was in school. It gave me a great love for this country, having been overseas and coming back, like he said. I saw a great difference, a great shift in the way our country was going. And so I have a great respect for the Constitution. But I want you to think about something. That is considered an extreme in this day and age. They consider those of us who support the Constitution as extremists. And what does that say about our nation? To where those who value and respect and want to adhere to the law of the land, that we are viewed as extremists. What does that say about our nation? What does that say about the direction we are going? That's the first thing I want to talk about the Constitution. The second thing I want to talk about is about the agenda, about what I see forthcoming in this year, especially in the legislative session. I do want to commend State Rep. Dr. Mike Ritz. He has been a great value, a great asset. I look forward to working with him. I don't know if you all are aware of exactly how things work in our Oklahoma legislature, but bills have to be run through both houses, through the House and through the Senate, so they have to have a sponsor in both. So he and I will be able to sponsor much legislation together. I will tell you this, Senate District 33 is a newly formed Senate district. It used to be Midtown Tulsa. They uprooted it. They moved it over to Broken Arrow, Tulsa, South Tulsa County. And if you look at it, it is very odd-shaped. It is gerrymandered, as I'm sure you are very well aware of that term. There is one area where they notched it out, and they did that because that's where a certain person named Dr. Mike Ritz lives. They did not want him to be able to run for state Senate because they didn't want somebody in the Senate who was conservative. Fortunately for us, they did not take me into their factoring, but I guarantee you that now they certainly are, because they know that I am going to run some very specific, very strictly constitutional legislation. Talking about the Constitution, those of you who have heard me speak in the past, you've heard me talk about the Constitution and specifically the three branches of government. I always like to ask, it's kind of a trick question, but what are the three branches of American government? Shout it out if you know it, the three branches of American government. Executive, legislative, and judicial. That's what we're all taught in school, correct? Those are the three branches of American government. However, in my opinion, that is wrong. Let me explain why. The reason why is because those are the three branches of the federal government, or the three branches of the state government. We have an executive, a legislative, and a judicial in both those branches. But if you read the Constitution, the three branches of American government are we the people, the states, and the federal government. We the people created the states. We allowed the states to create the federal government. Those are the true three branches of American government, and it should be in that order. We the people have the most power. We have given the states certain power, not rights. We the people have rights. We have our unalienable God-given rights, but we have given to the states powers and to the federal government other specific powers. We have seen a shift to where everything is backwards. The federal government is this huge overgrown bureaucracy. They dictate to the states and to us what we are supposed to do and not the other way around. How many of you are business owners? Or how many of you have worked for a living? Most of us here, right? How many of you realize that there is a boss, somebody who is in charge? And what does the boss do? They tell you what you are supposed to do and what you are not allowed to do. They give you certain powers and certain authority. If you do anything outside of that scope, what could happen? You could get fired. It's time that we fire a lot of these elected officials who do not realize that they are supposed to work for us. I realize that you are my boss. I'm supposed to work for you. I'm supposed to represent you, even if you aren't in my district. You know why? Because the legislation that I pass down in Oklahoma City will affect everyone in the state of Oklahoma. So whether you live in my district or not, you always have an open door to me because I realize I'm supposed to work for you. Speaking of the Constitution, what is the very beginning phrase in the U.S. Constitution? It's "we the people." You know what the ending phrase in the original Constitution, in the 10th Amendment is? To the people. Our Constitution begins and ends with the people. That's what it's supposed to be all about. I also always talk about, I'm sure you all are aware of the 10th Amendment, correct? The powers, again, powers, not rights, but the powers delegated to the United States, not delegated to the United States by the Constitution are reserved to the states, respectively, or to the people. So only the enumerated powers are supposed to be granted to the federal government. But how many of you know what the 9th Amendment says? Very few people are familiar with that. It says, the enumeration in this Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. That word enumerated is obviously the listed powers. Shall not be construed. That word construed means interpreted. How often do we hear we're supposed to interpret the Constitution? We hear that all the time. The Constitution must be interpreted. But the very Constitution says in the 9th Amendment, it shall not be interpreted. It shall not be construed. It is supposed to be read exactly as it is written. So it shall not be construed to deny or disparage. Disparage means to belittle the rights retained by the people. How many of our rights are being denied? How many of our rights are being belittled? Not just by the federal government, but by the states. So what needs to happen is we need to have an entire shift of perspective. Those who are elected need to see, like Dr. Ritz and myself and other constitutionalists, that we are supposed to work for you. That there are certain powers that the federal government has, certain powers that the state governments have. And if it is not specifically listed, that power belongs to you, the people. You can best determine how to run your life. That government which governs best is that government which governs least. And government is not the solution. Government is the problem. So we need to work to limit government. Some of the legislation that I'm looking at, Dr. Ritz had mentioned a few of the pieces. One of the main things that I'm going to concentrate on is I don't want to necessarily be known for the bills that I pass, but more specifically for the bills that I can stop and bills that I can repeal. So for every piece of legislation that I present, I'm going to present at least one repealer legislation, and preferably 2 or 3. I'm going to work to repeal a lot of this. I don't know if you've read the Oklahoma State Constitution. I'm a constitutionalist, so I've read the U.S. and the Oklahoma State Constitution. When the Oklahoma Constitution was enacted in 1907, it was the largest governing document in the world. Not just in the states, but in the world. It's still one of the largest in the world. It is the largest governing document in the states. But it is huge, and it was passed in 1907 at the height of the socialist progressive era. There's all kinds of things in there. It talks about even the flashpoint of kerosene. It defines that in the Oklahoma State Constitution. There's a lot in there that needs to be cleaned up and repealed. And I'm just talking about that. The Oklahoma Constitution is over 150 pages long. Compare that to the U.S. Constitution. There's a lot in there that needs to be cleaned up, and that's not even talking about statutes or laws or other things that have been passed. So we have gotten so far off base. My background living as a missionary overseas, I've seen how repressive governments, how socialist governments, how communist governments can work. I've seen what inflation can do to wipe out people's savings accounts. I've seen these various things. I've seen socialized medicine. It simply does not work. A lot of these people, I have pity for them, especially being younger myself, a lot of this younger generation, because they are very idealistic. And they fell for a very idealistic candidate 4 years ago because it all sounded great. Free college, free jobs, free health care. It all sounds great. I mean, who doesn't like free things? I mean, you know, when I go to Sam's, I sample all this. I get all the samples. It's great. It's free, right? I mean, who doesn't like free things? But this younger generation does not realize that there's no such thing as a free lunch. They sound great ideologically. It's all free, but it simply doesn't work. And if you've traveled overseas, if you've been to Europe, if you've been to Greece, to Spain, where all these austerity measures are taking place, I've been there. I've seen it. I knew well in advance that it wasn't going to work, that they were going to face these difficulties. That's why I got so actively involved when I returned back here to Broken Arrow, to Oklahoma. That's why I got so involved, because we are the greatest country on the earth. We do have a divine destiny, and we do need to continue to pursue that. One other thing that I will point out, I want to talk a little bit about the First Amendment, because I was reading through my Constitution the other day, and I saw something in there that I hadn't seen before. How many of you know what the First Amendment says? Go ahead and shout it out. Freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom to assemble, freedom of religion, right? That's how we look at it. But if you actually read it, do you know which one is listed first in there? Freedom of religion is listed first. Then it talks about freedom of speech and the press, and it talks about the right to assemble and petition the redress for redress of grievances. Something that I would like to throw out there for you all to consider is that those three are combined. We have the freedom to exercise our religion, but in that we have the freedom of speech and the press. We have the freedom to assemble, and we have the freedom to petition our government. But a lot of times people look at those as separate entities entirely. Our churches and our ministers are being bound through their 501c3 tax-exempt status. Pastors and ministers are not allowed to stand up in the pulpit and say, right is right and wrong is wrong. This is sin, this is not, this is right. This person is somebody we need to get behind. This enterprise is something we need to support or oppose. Pastors and churches have not been able to do that. What I'm going to do when I'm in the state of Oklahoma, I look to how we can cut a lot of what the government is doing that is not the responsibility of the government. It is the responsibility of the church. The church should be taking care of the poor and the destitute. But as we work to limit government, we have to have self-government. We have to take responsibility for ourselves and for our neighbors. So I would encourage you all, talk to your pastors, to your ministers, to anybody that you know, and have them become aware of their rights of freedom of speech under that First Amendment, so that we can continue to get our country back on the right path. Because if government is not the solution and the answer, what is the solution and the answer? There's only one answer, and it's the church. So people need to start to get involved. We need to get our eyes back on the right path. I am not the solution. I'm just a voice. Fortunately, I'm a voice for you all. I'm a new voice in the state Senate, and I promise you I will stand strong. I will advocate for the Constitution, for your liberties. I will do everything I can when I'm in there. You will always have an open door for me. So please, as you come down to lobby and talk to the different elected officials down at the lobby, please come by my office, my door, because I know that I cannot do this alone. I know that I don't have all the answers, but I will stand strong. I will work for you, but I will need your help and support, because I am going to present some legislation that is going to be strongly opposed. But if they hear from the grassroots, if enough of their constituents contact them, those other senators and those other reps will vote according to the Constitution. So we all have to stand strong. I'll leave you with this final quote. The price of freedom is eternal vigilance. We cannot subside. We cannot let go. We have to continue to fight. The election's coming up November 6th, but it doesn't end then. That is just another step in the path, another step to get our country going back in the right path. Thank you all again for having me. God bless.
All right, you guys still awake out there? Okay, we're getting ready to hear some comments from a gentleman who's a very good friend of mine, and he's going to speak to you via remote. He has been bedridden since last November with different ailments. He's trying to rehab. He lost his job. He lost his health insurance. He is struggling and fighting on his own, but you know what? There's thousands of people out there doing absolutely nothing. And this man does more with a computer and technology than almost anybody I know. And he's going to speak to you. He is the host of OK4T Radio and Liberty Bell Radio Network. And he is going to inspire you with his words. Harold, are you ready? Okay, here is Matthew Vermillion.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you all for showing up and being at this event. I want to tell you a little bit about myself and what's happened in this last 11 to 12 months. I was going and I was doing really strong and was trying to do everything I could to help the cause and keep our movement growing. And in December, I got sick. I had an infection in my left leg, and I ended up being down for 3 weeks in the hospital. And wasn't able to walk after that. And started doing therapy, started getting better, and then in February, I got sick again and come down in March that I had to have my gallbladder taken out. This put me down even further. About the same time, I lost my insurance, lost my job. And you know what? I think first thing, what is the government going to do for me? I thought, what am I going to do for myself? How am I going to get out of this hole? We're going to do this. We're going to do this together as a family. And so I picked myself back up, and we've been working our way back, thanks to people like Harold and Martha, and to Harold's friend Dylan, who came over every day without fail, a 21-year-old kid coming over to help me stand and work and do my exercises. And then he started to have some things he had to do, and J.W. Berry and Tom Count, they came over and was helping me. Thank you very much for all that you've done for helping me and coming out and exercising. And there was people like Tulsa 912 Project to help us out financially, OK4T, and we thank you so much for doing that. But here's the deal. We got gas prices that are going down now. I guess the economy is collapsing, according to the president. I don't think so. We got a president who will not answer any questions right now to the media about Benghazi. We have CIA people, Navy SEALs that were a mile away from the consulate in Benghazi. And they were denied 3 times for help and support. 2 times they went ahead and went against orders and were told to stand down. They went over to the consulate and they helped out regardless. And they got themselves killed because of that. That's an American citizen. That's what it is to be an American. Not what this president of the United States is doing. This guy needs to go. And let me plead to you. If you're a libertarian, I'm speaking to you right now. If you think you're going to just vote no and let this economy collapse and let Obama get back into office because your candidate didn't make it in there, what will come out on the other side will not be freedom. You have got to support Romney. He may not be the best choice, but it is better than this communist that we have in the White House right now. We cannot afford 4 more years of this president being in office. I plead to you today to get up, get going, keep fighting, And also, for the last 40 days, well, for the last 28, 29 days, my family, since September 28th, have been praying for this country, have been praying for you, have been praying for all of the grassroots organizations across this country that are trying to make a difference. Each night we pray. And I want you to continue to pray. I'd ask for you to pray, to lift your voice to God, that no matter the outcome, that His will be done. We need to get up. We need to get going. And we need to keep fighting. And we need to keep praying. And I thank you so much. Let's keep up the momentum that we're doing. And God bless America.
Thank you, Matthew. Next, we're going to bring up Jenny White. Jenny is the president of Restore Oklahoma Public Education, or ROPE. ROPE is a grassroots-run limited government organization, Christian, that researches and reports on public education in Oklahoma. Let's give a warm welcome for Jenny White. She's one of the few girls that can pull off leather and fringe. Woo!
Hey guys, how are you? It's so good to be in front of an actual tea party again, because have you noticed they're kind of dying away? It's like we all went and found other things to do, which is a good thing. For example, I used to be heavily involved in the Tea Party movement and was with the Oklahoma City 912 for a long time, which is how I met Rhonda. But we have since broken off into our own group. So 4 years ago, we formed ROPE. And today I had notes that I was going to give you today. And basically my notes were going to inform you how to be an active population. I'm sitting here driving up from Oklahoma City, and I go down Hudson, and I'm like, look at all the cars. Oh, man, everybody's here. This is great. And I found it was a soccer game. And then I drove, and there were people playing tennis. And then I drove around further in all the cars, and there were people playing golf. And so I drive in here, and here are you guys all bundled up, sitting on gold bleachers, listening to people talk about how to save our republic. I don't think I need to educate you people on anything, frankly. So I'm going to avoid all of that. But I am going to tell you this, that really I'm a nobody. I'm not anybody at all. I'm just a housewife and a mom who woke up and went, oh my gosh, how did we elect Barack Obama? How did we decide that socialism is okay? How did we decide that it's okay to have a government take over a car industry? How did we get away with doing this and decide that this was all okay and copacetic? And it wasn't until I really started examining it that I found out that it all has to do with what we're teaching kids in school. And I don't mean college. College is a cesspool. There's really no other way to get around saying that. It's awful. It's horrible. It's like an indoctrination factory, unless you spend good money and go to places like Hillsdale. But even our own state colleges they're just awful. But it's not just starting in college anymore. Today we have to worry about what's going on as far back as elementary school. And I'm going to tell you a little story, which I like to tell legislators, because often, because we're conservative, a limited government organization, we are often frowned upon in the legislature and with the governor's office and others. And I often tell this story. I have a 7-year-old, and he was in first grade. And he was in first grade last year. He's actually in second grade now, but he's at home with me and the other 2 children who I refuse to put in public school anymore. And so last year, he starts school and he starts adding. We're doing 5 plus 5, 5 plus 1, that kind of stuff. We did that for about 3 weeks. Then we started doing 5 minus 1 and 5 minus 5. And we did that for about 3 weeks. And then we started adding double columns of numbers. And we did that for about 3 weeks. And then subtracting double columns of numbers. And we did that for about 3 weeks. And all the time, I kept thinking to myself, because I would ask my son, honey, what's 2 plus 2? And he'd go, 4. I'm like, you don't know what 2 plus 2 is? No. So I'm like, how did we go from 2 plus 2 is 4 to 22 minus 21 is 1? How did we get to that in 9 weeks when the kids don't even know what 2 plus 2 is? How do you do that? Well, the answer is that you don't. But according to our state superintendent, Janet Barisi, this is accountability. This is making our children strive to do better. So my son this is what he's doing in math. And I think it's important to note that while he's doing this math, I'm getting things, we went through a whole unit on, are you ready? Global warming. And then we went through an entire unit on rainforest ecology. And still in all, my son at the end of the first grade did not know how to add 2 plus 2. And so I went to his teacher and I said, you know, I'm just really curious about this. I mean, my son can spell K-pot tree, and he can tell me that all the sloths are dying and that he'll never see one because they'll all be dead in a few short moments in time. But he doesn't know how to do 2 plus 2. Can you explain this to me? Well, she laments, I have all these tests that we need to study for, and we have this and that, and they're making me do this, and I have to give them so many tests. And now, if they don't get the test right, then there's going to be a teacher. The teachers are going to be responsible for the test grades. Here's the deal. Here's the dealio. Accountability is important because whether we want to or not, we all support public education with our tax dollars. We, the people, support public schools. We, the people, have decided that for some reason, the progressive educators, and do not make any mistake about it, I don't care if they're in your elementary school, I would say even your elementary school has between 25 and 35% progressive educators. As a matter of fact, would you like to know what our Republican education reforms are based on? Progressive notions. All this nonsense about accountability and testing, and we're doing it at the state level because the federal government is giving us money. Does anybody know that the federal government shouldn't be involved in state schools? Does anybody know that? See, again, I don't even know why I'm talking to you people. You're already very well informed. But here's the thing. I personally, on November 6th, I am voting Romney Ryan. But one of the reasons why I'm voting in that particular election, that particular way, is that Governor Romney has stated now on numerous occasions and in a white paper that can be found on his website that he will pull all federal funding for state education. See, to me, that's a huge issue. Because in 1964, Lyndon Baines Johnson, as you heard Nathan Dahm comment about the taxes, the tax-exempt status given to churches, that was also LBJ. By the way, he's roasting in hell, I'm afraid. I'm never one to mince words, did you notice? LBJ was the person who started the Elementary and Secondary Education Act because poverty was the reason why children were not succeeding in school. Has anybody ever heard of a manufactured crisis? This is exactly the manufactured crisis that allowed progressives to get into our school systems, was the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. Did you know now that every single president, whether they had an R behind their name or a D behind their name, have taken this little piece of garbage, rewrapped it like they were regifting a Christmas present, and sent it to the next administration? So we absolutely have had in place nothing but a progressive education format since 1964. Why are we not complaining about this? Why are we not having a fit about this? And I think the thing that's the most impressive And probably the thing that maybe even some of you who would almost be considered activists yourselves not know is that our own Republicans, Mary Fallon, Janet Barisi, are all on board getting federal money for our schools. They are all on board for getting the No Child Left Behind waiver. Has anybody heard of the A through F schools business, the grading? Okay. Do you realize that the only reason why we're going through this right now is because they applied for this NCLB waiver? Okay. Now, the NCLB, the No Child Left Behind, basically said that by 2014, all kids will be proficient, 100% proficient in reading and math. Okay. Now, here's kind of a head scratcher if you think about it. I just told you I have a 7-year-old. If he, comes to the breakfast table and his shirt's on forwards, it's like a banner day. So I'm like, if I can't get 100% proficiency in dressing in a 7-year-old, how are we going to get 100% proficiency in math and reading anywhere? How are we going to get 100% proficiency in anything? So what we did is we applied for this federal grant, basically, that would allow us not to have to follow the 100% proficiency, but we had to grade schools as to whether or not they're A through F. Do you know what happens if you're a D or an F school? The State Department pays a contractor to come in and take over your local school. Is there a reason for having a school board then? What's the point of serving on a school board? Because we're just going to let the state do it, right? Is that is intelligent, brave, and pure? It is because the people demand these high qualities to represent them in the national legislature. If the next centennial does not find us a great nation, it will be because those who represent the enterprise, the culture, and the morality of this nation do not aid in controlling the political forces. Chew on that. After this election, remain involved. Remain involved. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.
But what I see is killing me. It's tearing at my soul.
I want to tell you something. When you get in, conservative circles and stuff, sometimes people think that all teachers are progressives. They think that all teachers out there go with the party line from the federal organizations. But I can tell you something, even when I was trying to organize this event here and had to get overflow parking, there was a teacher that I emailed, and she was like, keep going, keep fighting, do this for us, because they need the support. They're surrounded by those who want to enable and they want to push the victim card on the kids and stuff. To do is you need to empower kids, you need to educate kids, and you need to support those teachers, support those principals and those counselors out there that want to, really want to lift up these kids, okay? Because there's a lot of parents out there that don't do what they should, and the teachers are trying to pick up some of the slack. So if you know those teachers, and give them a pat on the back and support them. And anyway, so they're out there. We're going to bring up, actually, I asked earlier if there was any Democrats. There is a Democrat here. Roscoe Turner, former District 3 City Councilor, is going to come up for a couple minutes and just talk about voting no on Vision 2. So let's bring Roscoe Turner up and give him a warm welcome. Thank you.
Good morning. I am Roscoe H. Turner, and regardless of what the Tulsa world says, I still am a child of God. I want you to know that. But I'm here to talk against this Vision 2 rigmarole they come up with. I keep saying the same thing over and over and over, and everybody else saying too fast, too much, too slow, and all of this good stuff. But when you sit down and really look at it, you really know what they're trying to do. Everybody has missed it. But all you have to do is look at the ballot, and you'll see exactly what they're trying to do. Proposition 1, I'm going to read these to you right quick, and then I'll have to hurry and get off the stage. But Proposition 1 says, shall the County of Tulsa, Oklahoma, by its Board of County Commissioners levy and collect a 31% of 1% sales tax for the purpose of promoting economic development within Tulsa County, Oklahoma, and are to be applied or pledged toward the payment of principal and interest on any indebtedness, including refunding indebtedness, incurred by or on behalf of Tulsa County, Oklahoma. For such purposes, such sales tax to commence on the first day of January 2017, continue thereafter 13 years from the date of commencement of taxes. And basically, Proposition 2 says identically the same thing, only it's a little difference in the amount of tax. But all it is for is pay indebtedness, refunding indebtedness, making indebtedness, whatever you may decide you want to do. Actually, what they're looking for is a blank check, because according to statutes and laws and ordinances, and then any time you float a bond issue or a tax issue, you should list the projects to be included. You have to include the projects to be included in this bond issue or tax. You have to have some way of guaranteeing that these politicians in City Hall, County Courthouse, and wherever, does what they say they're going to do. But in order for that to take place and guarantee where it's going to go, it has to be listed on the ballot. There is not a project listed on the ballot anywhere. So what do we got? We got a blank check. We're planning to put out. They just want you to say, the voters to sign it and give it to them. And guess what? 17 years after from now, they'll still be collecting money and may not have done any project they said they're going to do. I heard this morning that they were talking about, oh yeah, well, we're going to put something in the contract that says if these people don't stay here, it will be nil null void. If you vote for it, you got it. Be careful. Be careful what you do, because you're actually just giving them a blank check to do whatever they choose to do, and God knows they can plan a lot of things to do without your supervision. Thank you very much, and remember, vote no.
Hey, we're going to bring up J.W. Barry, the executive founder of our organization, OK for Tea. A few years ago, after the stimulus or spendulus came out in 2009, after President Bush sold out the conservative movement, after we passed all the so-called Patriot Act, and there was a reason he was 20% popularity, because he lost folks like us because he didn't act like a conservative, and he just spent money like it was going out of style. People just got sick and tired of it. They got sick and tired over their whole life, and so folks like JW just decided to get together, and everybody was thinking the same thing at the same time, and he just started a group called OK for Tea, and we're going to bring him up right now. Let's give him a warm welcome. And if he doesn't fire you up, I don't know what will.
Thank everybody very much for showing up. This is, I know it's hard. There's a lot of things going on in people's lives, and you know, we can always seem to count on the people like you that are really concerned, really paying attention to come out, and it really kind of inspires us to try a little bit harder and to work a little bit harder and try a little bit harder to make things better. I want to point out the banner behind us here, and most of you probably know that that is a from the roof of the Sistine Chapel. That's Michelangelo's rendition of God endowing man with his inalienable rights. And the word unalienable is something that I remember speaking many times, reading the Declaration of Independence, and I didn't really understand what it meant. I just read over it. I figured it was a good thing. But the root word in unalienable is actually alien, A-L-E-I-N-E. So it's the word that, I'm sorry, A-L-I-E-N. I never could spell. But what that is an old 14th century word that basically says it's able to be owned by someone else. You know, if you have a lien on your house, you have a lien on your car, that means that somebody else has a property or a value in that property. You, as a person, nobody, God has endowed you with rights that nobody can have property in but you. When you think about health care, you have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, health care is one of those things that's a very personal, very much an individual right that nobody should ever be able to interfere with at all, because if they do, they can affect your life. You know, if you can't get the health care that you want or need, or if somebody's going to decide what kind of preventive medicine that you get, then you're no longer in charge of that life, are you? If you're going to let them do that, that means that they've taken a part of your liberty that God gave you. And, of course, if you're not healthy, you can't pursue that happiness that you're guaranteed. So the whole thing about this Obamacare, I know you've heard a lot of people talk about it, but the whole thing about this Obamacare thing is that it is totally, totally unconstitutional. It makes no difference what the Supreme Court says. The Supreme Court, you realize, is a political body. It is not it's not an independent body. You know, you look at the justices that Obama appointed, he appointed them because they held very much left-leaning views. And Republicans sometimes, not always, manage to get somebody that's got very conservative views. But it's the political party and the political views that they're going to be representative. They're not really representing the Constitution and you and me. In Obamacare, 52% of the people in the United States and over 64% of the people in Oklahoma said no to Obamacare. We actually, you heard Amanda talk about this, we actually put a constitutional amendment on the ballot and it passed. It's part of our Constitution now that says no Obamacare in Oklahoma. Now, when you get over half the people in Oklahoma and over half the people in the United States that says that we don't want the government to infringe on our God-given rights, what's going on? What's happened is that you and I have become irrelevant to what we call the rulers now. It's what the rulers want and what benefits them. It's not what you and I want. You're a chattel. And chattel is something that's sellable and it's ownable and it's something that somebody can, you know, barter with and trade with, and that's what you are. Every few years they'll come up and they'll say all the right things and make you think they're going to do something for you, and you'll go out and vote for them. And all they're doing is they're trying to, you know, buy and sell your vote so that they can put them in office. If you remember what Valerie Jarrett said, everybody knows who Valerie Jarrett is, right? She made the statement on Meet the Press. She says, President-elect Obama is prepared to really take power and begin to rule from day one. Now, who made Obama the ruler? He was supposed to be president of the United States. It seems like part of his rule would be to force the general government into the private lives of the citizens of this once great country. Now, we look to our elected representatives to kind of protect us from these intrusions, and we really look to our state representatives, because the state representatives are closest to us, and we should have the most influence on them. We have been betrayed by the people in Oklahoma City in both parties. I mean, it doesn't matter which party they're in, they've all betrayed us, and they do it constantly. You know, a man again talked about the big business and the big, you know, like Kaisers and people like this, that they have all the money, so they basically buy all the votes. Mary Fallon, you remember when she was first running for governor, she was talking about she was against health care and Obamacare and all that stuff. She almost got whiplash when they offered her $54 million in an early innovator, God, my tongue is tied today, grant. And she was going to keep it. And what that was basically going to do now, because they knew that Oklahoma was the reddest state in the nation, the progressive Obama and company thought if we can get Oklahoma in on this thing early, then everybody else is going to fold. I mean, that's my personal opinion, but I think that's what's happened. Well, the Tea Party's got a hold of this, and we organized and orchestrated a massive amount of emails and phone calls and faxes and visits to the Capitol, and she finally stopped it. She said, okay, we're going to wait till the Supreme Court comes out and says what they're going to say. But she's not ready to concede to us. She has big bucks, and she's got ascendancy through the Republican Party. I don't know how many people noticed that she's been on the news all the time, national news all the time. Now, Oklahoma is not exactly the biggest state in the nation. And before this, I hardly ever heard of anybody. Brad Henry, I never heard him being quoted or talking or doing anything. But I think what we've got here is a case of somebody who went to Washington and drank the Kool-Aid, and she came back, and she's now our governor, and she's in that clique. I mean, she's one of those people that sees her future not with us. She sees her future up there with those elites, and so that's where she would like to take us. We have a lot of rhinos in the Oklahoma legislature. I was talking to a guy the other day who was running against one of them, and he didn't win, unfortunately. But the guy actually admitted he was a rhino. He said, "I just do this because the Republican Party was easier to get." This is what they do. We went up there and talked to these guys, the Tea Party people, and I remember sitting down. I can't remember the senator's name, but sitting down across from one of these guys trying to change his mind about. I said, this is before Justice Roberts came out with his thing. But I was trying to tell the guy that this health care thing, the government had no business in it. So he says, oh, the federal government can override anything the states do. And then he tried to pull the Madison versus Marbury thing. Now, I don't know how many, that's something people quote all the time, and they say that's what gives the government the right to do whatever they want. That's not what Madison and Marbury was about. It was about the general government being able to decide on their own the constitutionality of the laws they pass. So it's basically an attack and almost a death knell to federalism, because it took the states. The original Constitution, it was supposed to be the states that were the check on that, and all the Supreme Court was basically a tribunal for people who broke the laws, not to decide what the law was. Now, I teach a course on this, and y'all ought to sign up for some of these things, because you'll learn a lot about it. But anyway, the government of Washington do not have the power to make us buy something that we do not want, and they don't have the power to set up Oklahoma Obamacare in these whole health care exchanges. Now, you heard Amanda talk about the Oklahoma Health Insurance Exchange. The way that got passed, and she alluded to it, but this was a chicanery that you couldn't believe. There was a bill going through the Oklahoma legislature that talks about OCPD. And that's, you see in the commercial with the elephant sitting on the person. Those people have OCPD. So there was a bill going through that was going to help those people, or at least define what the state of Oklahoma was going to do for them. Well, in the last week of the legislative session, the leadership, which means the Republicans, went in and snuck the language that would create the Oklahoma Health Care Exchange into that bill. Now, that bill had been read twice, and it was going through the last time. And, of course, if you've ever been up there, the last week or two of the session, it's just like a bunch of wild Indians up there. I mean, they're just running around making deals and shaking hands and doing backdoor things, and they're trying to pass all these bills. This bill did not get read, and it was voted on, and only 2 people voted against it. One of them was our good Dr. Ritz, because he was smart enough to go and read the thing. But what it did was it created the Oklahoma Health Care Exchange Trust, which is this big body, if you will, that resides over the thing and sets up all these other agencies and things like this. Now, we're right now talking about the health care exchanges. And, we managed to stop that. That was going through, again, it was almost a foregone conclusion that they were going to do the exchanges. And that's the insurance exchanges, and that basically takes private insurance and your ability to buy private insurance away from you. So anyway, we kind of got it stopped. But they always tell us that they don't have the ability to do anything other than what the general government tells you. Well, I read a recent Cato article, a guy named Michael F. Cannon. He's the director of health policy studies at Cato. And I don't know if you all have ever read anything Cato does. They're a very, very conservative organization. They're more conservative than Heritage Foundation. But anyway, I'll just tell you what he said. He said state legislatures or the governor can stop Obamacare cold. All they have to do is not set up health care exchanges. And he comes back and says, well, If we don't, the government will do it for us. And he says, what difference does it make? The states have to set up exchanges that meet the federal government's guidelines. So no matter what they do, they're not going to be any different. If it's a federal exchange or if it's a state exchange, they're going to be exactly the same. However, the only time an employer mandate, the only time an employer can get charged $2,000 for not having an insurance policy is if the state set up the exchange. If the federal government sets up the exchange, there is no penalty there. The way the law is written, if the federal government sets up the exchange, basically there's no penalty for not doing it. Now think about that. Basically means that we don't have to do those exchanges here in Oklahoma. Now it's going to be really hard to. Oh, by the way, the only way they could do it, because there's no money set up in that bill, an Obamacare bill, there's no money set up to do the exchanges, the health care exchanges. And I doubt very seriously you're going to get the House of Representatives in Washington, D.C. today, which is made up of mostly conservative Republicans. They're not going to appropriate money to have them put these exchanges in. It's just not going to happen. So if Mary Fallin or if somebody in leadership in the House or in the Senate will just say no and not let the bill come to the floor or veto the bill or not sign the bill, then health care exchanges and Obamacare is dead in Oklahoma. Yeah, that's a fact. Now what we have to do is we have to go back, and I hope you guys get our newsletters and all these things, because you know as soon as the legislature comes back, and probably they're working on it right now, they're going to do their best to do what they always do, which is throw us under the federal bus. And we're going to need a lot of phone calls. We're going to need a lot of emails. We're going to need a lot of personal visits. And if you're up on our email address, and we'll do the meetup things, and you all will be able to know when this is going on, and you can help us, because the only thing these guys respond to is pressure from the voters. And we've proven that time and time and again. There have been several pieces of legislation that are toxic to us, and we were able to get them shelved or voted down because if we could mobilize folks like you and get it done. So anyway, we don't want any part of it, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure it doesn't happen. And it's the way to do it is clear. Like I say in that article that Cato wrote, and I'm going to make sure all this is communicated to every legislator. I called Mary Fallin's office last Monday and told her, you never talk to her, but I told her, whoever it was that I talked to, what I wanted. I want my answer. Are you going to do this? They said, we'll get back with you. And there's been crickets chirping ever since. So I doubt very seriously I'm going to hear. I'm going to leave you with a couple of things. One is we have some really, really good candidates that are running for office right now. Mr. Breitenstein couldn't be here today. He's been running all over the state campaigning. He finally catches up with you. I mean, I worked for GE for 37 years, and I used to fly all over the place. And I know after a while, you just come in, just wore out, and you get sick. And so that's what happened to him. But we've got Nathan Dahm. We've got, of course, he's already elected, so then that's a really good thing. We've got Dave Bell, who's a candidate in the 11th district. David Tackett, who's a candidate in the 12th district. And again, we want to thank Mike Ritz, because Mike Ritz has been our ally. He's been our best friend. He is if you had to put a picture up in your house of the guy that defended the Constitution better than anybody you know, that would be the picture you'd have. So, even if you're not in his district, you ought to call him or send him an email or something and tell him thanks. Remember this, that politicians are a lot like dirty diapers. They need to be changed often. You need to remember that. We ran a couple of good candidates against these guys, and these guys that are all chamber candidates. I mean, let's face it, everybody that ran, all the established people getting a lot of money from big business and chamber, and we can't compete with them. The grassroots can't compete. We go door to door and things, but we actually, the two or three of these people that we ran lost, not hugely, but they lost, and that's horrible, because if we don't start getting these people out of there, then we'll never make a change. And the longer they're in, the more entrenched they get. And what they do, because there's term limits now, they take these people about to be term limited out, and they put them in charge of making some of the, either introducing or put them on a committee that will get one of these bills through, because they know there's no consequences to them. They know that they don't have to run for election again. So anyway, please support us, support 912. Amanda's group, I tell you what, if you want a group, if you want an information source that is second to none, Amanda's group is it. The last thing I'll say, you notice there's some license plates up here. Everybody notice those yellow license plates? Well, we all have them. I've got two vehicles, an RV, and I've got them on all mine. And the next time you renew your automobile license, just ask for it. It's the "Don't Tread on Me" tag. That don't cost about $20. It's only just a little bit more. But we need to get more and more of those things on cars going around here, just like the bumper stickers for Brian Stein and for people running for office we support. You can take them off after it's over. The license plate stays forever. But anyway, thank you all very much. Really appreciate it. God bless you. And I'm going to bring Tom back up one more time.
Okay, folks, stay with us for a few more minutes. We've got just a couple more speakers. We've got a couple of girls that are going to be coming up in a second. But first, we're going to bring up a lady named Mariah Lee, who proves that Prince doesn't own the color purple. Mariah Lee is Stand Up for American Christianity, and I think this is great. We've got women all over the world who live under pure tyranny in their own homes, from husbands, and under religious guises that allow abuse. And I think more of us need to stand up for our sisters all over the world, that we're all one race, we're the human race, and we just, if the Now Gang would like to stand up with conservatives, that would be something conservatives would stand up for, because you just should not allow just systems to abuse women. We're going to listen to a couple of comments from Mariah Lee, and then we'll have the Fox girls come up. Ms. Mariah Lee.
Hello there. As he said, my name is Mariah Lee, and I am Native American. My grandparents were full-blood Creeks. My mother was a full-blood Creek, and I am one-half Creek. I love this sign over here that says, "Get involved. It's time to take America back." It is time to take America back. It's kind of awkward as a Native American to be saying that, but as an American, it is time to take America back. And I just started this new little grassroots effort. My whole concept is you need to step out in faith. If you are a child of God, I don't care what church you belong to, you need to be able to stand up and step out in faith and stand up for your faith. You know that old saying that a frog, if you put it in water and start to boil the water, it just stays there. And by the time the water is boiling, it's too late. Let me tell you something, people, it is almost too late. Our Christian, Judeo-Christian values are being compromised every single day. And we as Christians especially need to stand up and not be afraid to step out there and say, for my children, for generation after generation coming behind me, we need to know that Christ is available and ready for Americans at any time, for anybody all over the world. So I have this new little thing called Stand Up for American Christianity. We have too many people who are so worried about politically being correct that we're standing down. And if we don't stand up, if you don't think that one person can make a difference, look at the little girl that was shot just several weeks ago because she wanted to be educated. American Christianity, we have just two purposes. We don't care what church you belong to. We're going to encourage you to stand up for Christianity. American Christianity. American Christianity has been the greatest thing that has ever happened to the world because it has given Americans the name that we are always there. Any crisis, we are the most generous people there ever is. Any place in the world where there are problems, where there's catastrophes, who's there first? America. We have had the the name that we're there, and it's because of our Christian values, our Judeo-Christian values, that we have this opportunity. Right. The second thing that my American Christianity thing will be pushing is not one single dime of my taxpayer money should go to any country that denigrates their women and children. So, and who is doing this? There really is a war on women, and it's not coming from American Christians. It's coming from those people who do not believe that Jesus Christ is Lord. That's right. So I am telling everybody, it's time to start standing up for your faith. Yep. Because if you don't start standing up for your faith, you're going to wake up and we're going to be like the frogs. So I will leave you with this. If you don't start doing something about these people who are spending your money, your taxpayer money like there's no tomorrow, guess what? There is not going to be a tomorrow. We have these little pins over here that are shaped in the shape of a cross, with the American flag in the background. On the back is a mustard seed. Luke 17:6 says, if you have the faith of a mustard seed, you can say to anything, remove thyself, a mountain, remove thyself and cast yourself into the sea. And every single Christian has this little tiny bit of faith. You just need to start standing up and standing on it. God bless America and all of you people out there.
Woo! I'll tell you what, I like that. She needs to be preaching somewhere. Okay, right now we're going to bring up Camille and Haley. They just wrote the new jingle for Fox. They wrote the song, independent song, Game On, for Rick Santorum's campaign. It got 1 million views in how long?
2 weeks.
2 weeks, 1 million views. They're going to play a couple of songs for us. Give them a hand. Thank you.
Okay, good deal. Hello, my name is Camille. It's my sister Haley. We are young Republicans, and we're very excited to be here and be with so many people that are interested in the future of America. So that's what politics is all about, is keeping America, America, right? So here we go. We're going to sing a song called Ain't Your Fool. It's our new single we just put out. It's a country one. And it's on YouTube as well. If you look up First Love Band or CamilleandHaley.com, you will find us and share it. And here it goes. Ain't Your Fool. Ain't your fool. It's not like this is my first rodeo. I've seen the likes of you before. Ooh, and I know better than to fall for you, to even let you open up that door. 'Cause I can see through you, and I ain't your fool. You say you want a good girl like me, you gotta be a good boy, darling. If you want to do some changing, we'll see about you and me. One thing's for sure, I ain't your fool. Nothing new under this big bright sun, and bluffing ain't getting you through to my heart. Ooh, something about you that really gets to me. But I don't get hung up on good looks and cowboy charm, 'cause I can see through you, and I ain't your fool. You say you want a good girl like me, you gotta be a good boy, darling. If you want to do some changing, we'll see about you and me. One thing's for sure, I ain't your fool. I'm not one to fall for bad boys, they like me to lead them on. 'Cause I can't see beyond the now, boy, you want what you want, then you're gone, gone, gone. And you say you want a good girl like me, you gotta be a good boy, darling. If you want to do some changing, we'll see about you and me. One thing's for sure, if you want a good girl like me, you gotta be a good boy, darling. If you want to do some changing, we'll see about you and me. One thing's for sure, I ain't your fool. One thing's for sure. I ain't your fool. One thing's for sure. I ain't your fool.
So newest, it kind of does relate to politics a little bit, doesn't it? Can't be anybody's fool. We got to know the truth and watch out for the bad ones, vote for the good ones. Oh, actually, we just were on Fox News yesterday and the night before, and we wrote them a jingle, by the way, so we're going to test it out on you. It's 15 seconds. The news anchor, Ian Silver, said, write a song about me, and so we took him literally and wrote it, and so see if you guys like it. It might be going national. We'll find out soon. Hopefully soon.
We have 4 versions, so Dad, which version are you playing? First one.
Here goes.
National what? Fox News, breaking all the latest headlines. Fox News, exceptional reporters on site. Fox News, where we strive to bring reliable and unbiased views. Fox News.
What do you think? Like it so far? Reliable and unbiased news. That's a new.
It started out as a little country hippie thing, and then we turned it rock.
Turned into more like that. So this next song is called Game On, and this is kind of where we got our start, really.
Yeah.
Traveled with Rick Santorum for 5 weeks with this song. We made a YouTube video, got really inspired. Just getting our feet wet. I guess politically we're 20 and 19, so some people are like, they don't know what they're talking about. But we've done a little bit of research, and we know when you can see someone's heart, that's really important. And I think that was really, Rick Santorum was a very honest, genuine person. So we wrote him a song. He called us up, loved it. He said he listened to it 100 times. His wife loved it, and we traveled with him for 5 weeks on the road, sang our country music before the rallies, and Game On at the end like 5 times. So you can go look up the video on YouTube for this too. Game On, Rick Santorum, or look up Ain't Your Fool. CamilleandHaley.com is where you'll find all about us if you want to book us or anything. Oh, Tan says our CDs are available if you want a CD. So this is called Game On. I hope you enjoy it, or if you ever saw it on the news. I don't know, but here we go. It's called Game On.
Game on.
Join the fight. We finally got a man who will stand for what is right. Game on. Victory's in sight. Sing with if you know it. We got a man who understands that God gave the Bill of Rights. Oh, there is hope for our nation again. Maybe the first time since we had Ronald Reagan, there will be justice for the unborn. Factories back on our shores where the Constitution rules our land. Amen. Yes, I believe Rick Santorum is our man. Game on. He's got the plan to lower taxes, raise morale, put the power in our hand. Game on. Change is at hand. Faithful to his wife and 7 kids, he'll be loyal to our land. Oh, there is hope for our nation again. Maybe the first time since we had Ronald Reagan, there will be justice for the unborn. Factories back on our shores where the Constitution rules our land. Yes, I believe Rick Santorum is our man. Oh, it's crazy what's been slipping through our hands when we the people are still supposed to rule this land. Rick understands, so there is hope for our nation again. Maybe the first time since we had Ronald Reagan, there will be justice for the unborn. Factories back on our shores where the Constitution rules our land. Yes, I believe Rick Santorum is our man. Yes, I believe Rick Santorum is our man. Yes, we believe Rick Santorum is our man. Game on. Thank you so much. Even though Rick Santorum's out of the race, the ideals still need to go forward. And I'm so happy that everyone here and is voting. So praise the Lord. Thank you guys. CDs, find us.
Thank you.
Thank you, girls. Awesome.
All right.
We are, thank you, Camille and Haley, for coming out. That was incredible. That was awesome. We are going to, in the next couple of days, okfortea.com, we're going to put up the link to get those Don't Tread on Me license plates if you guys are interested. So in the next couple of days. For right now, we got one more speaker before I close it down. And we're going to bring up right now Darren Gantz, who is Executive Director for Oklahomans for Liberty. Let's give him a warm welcome.
Hey, that's a hard act to follow, and these girls are really good, and they deserve your support right here from Tulsa, Oklahoma. And they've got CDs for sale, so if you want to hear some of their great music, you need to jump on board that. My son and I sing their songs all the time in the car. Well, hello and welcome, patriots and lovers of liberty. I'm Darren Gantz, and Oklahomans for Liberty is about standing up for your rights, your liberties, and the constitutional values of the United States of America at the state capitol. And we lobby and we promote the Constitution. Thomas Jefferson said, "I'd rather be exposed to the inconvenience of attending to too much liberty than those attending to too small degree of it." The executive director position I'm stepping into was given to me basically because nobody wanted it, if you've ever been a part of a group like that. But they appreciated the fact that I stood up to a legislator who was not being conservative and supporting Obamacare, and a Republican at that. And so I said, yes, I'll do that. I'll step in. And that person's name is David Tackett. He's supposed to be here today and speak, but he's running for state representative against a Democrat who supports Obamacare, who supports taking your gun rights away, who supports killing the unborn. He supported Sharia law. His name is Wade Rousseau. He's in Wagner County. And today he got a phone call from the coon hunters of Oklahoma. Said, we're sending 20 volunteers to your house to knock doors. So David couldn't be here, and he had a funeral. And tomorrow the coon hunters are sending 50 volunteers to his house to go knock on doors. I don't know about you, but that's a great place to be, and I hope he wins that seat. Dave Bell couldn't be here, so I'm going to take his time. I'm kidding Tom over here. He's out knocking doors. He's got 1,200 doors. He's knocked almost 10,000 doors in North Tulsa as a Republican because he's running against a guy who's much more different and has been raising money from Obamacare money fundraising bundlers. And he does not stand for liberty. He does not stand for the Constitution. But Dave Bell does, and he's out doing that. So I just want to thank those two guys for their campaigns. January 1776, there was a young minister named Peter Muhlenberg who was in Woodstock, Virginia, and he delivered a sermon. And back in those days, a pastor got up, and he wore a black robe from the collar nearly to the floor. And he delivered his sermon, and he took off his robe, and underneath there was this colonial Army outfit, his uniform. And he said, gentlemen of this church, I ask that you take call to action right now for your liberty. And he reached behind him and he took his musket and he said, I will go and fight for the United States of America. And through that, he became the commander of the abridged army there in Virginia militia. They stormed lines in Yorktown. He retired as Major General in 1783. He believed and fought for liberty. You know, we always hear about these guys that took it upon themselves to file this Constitution. And some people recently made fun of in court that it wasn't notarized, this little thing we call the Constitution. But there were 56 men that took their sacred honor, their lives' fortunes, to sign this document. We never hear what really happened to them. 5 of them were captured and tortured and killed by the British. 12 lost their homes, burned completely to the ground, lost everything they had. Their wives, their children. 2 lost sons in the war. 1 lost 2 sons that were captured, never to be seen again. 9 fought and died. They pledged their lives, their fortunes, their sacred honor. And our men and women today deserve a commander-in-chief that doesn't tell their military to stand down. We deserve a president that doesn't tell their veterans, you'll have to wait 6 months for treatment. That's just uncalled for. There's many military men that serve other nations that are honored with plaques in their community, and they're given the true health care that they need and deserve for the things that they've been exposed to. Why is America any different? That we would take somebody who doesn't want to work and give them free health care, and we can't do it for our own soldiers. That's not right. Thank you, veterans, for fighting. Thank you for protecting. Thank you for defending our liberty. We have someone in the White House who says right now that we're not a Christian nation, that we cling too much to our Bibles and our guns. He said, I'd like him to talk to John Adams someday, and because here's a quote from John Adams. He said, our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. I think we're a Christian nation. He's one of the founders. He needs to talk to Thomas Jefferson, who said, our liberties are a gift of God. Thomas Jefferson said, the God that gave us life gave us liberty. And at the same time, the hand at force may destroy, but it cannot disjoin them. Life, liberty, and property is what this country's about. And we need people from the president to the city council and school board that understand what the Constitution of this United States means. Do you want a government that thinks they are God? Do you want one that takes your liberty? Do you want one that taxes you too much? Well, Thomas Jefferson said, a government big enough to supply you with everything you need is a government big enough to take it away, everything that you have. The course of history shows that as government grows, liberty decreases. Look at our national deficit. It's grown by how much? Does anybody know? Uncountable is probably more likely. Ben Franklin said, any people that would give up liberty for a little temporary safety deserves neither liberty nor safety. Now, folks, I told you Oklahomans for Liberty goes to the Capitol. We stand shoulder to shoulder with OK Safe and OK for Tea. We stand shoulder to shoulder with ROPE and 912. Folks, let me tell you something. We've got elected Republicans and Democrats, okay, that want to take your liberty away right here in Oklahoma with drone airplanes to spy on you. They want to put barcodes in your trash can so they know what you're eating, drinking, and doing in home. Is this what you want? Is this the liberty that you think you need? Well, we've got Republicans and Democrats that believe you need socialized medicine. Do you? We've got Republicans and Democrats that are raising taxes. I think we know Vision 2. It did so well with Vision 1. Taking guns rights away, telling us what to eat. Believe me, you've seen your food prices go up. Wait till they want you to quit eating chips and pop and ice cream, pizza, hamburgers, and they just tell you what, oh, you know, you might want to go over here and eat this green beans, and oh, by the way, that's all I have enough money for, because the taxes are so high on it. It's the same as the cost of the good. I know I'm about done. Here we go. There's an active attack on you and your Constitution. Patrick Henry said the Constitution is not an instrument for the government to refrain the people. It is an instrument for the people to restrain the government. Will you stand for the republic? Will you? Will you run for office? I heard a no. I knew that was coming. Will you at least fax and email and text and tweet? Call your friends and your neighbors? Get out on the street and knock on doors? Will you do that? Will you make some phone calls? Good. Will you put out a yard sign? Even despite your homeowners association. This is your liberty. You used to stand up and tell them, I have the right, I have the freedom of speech in this country. Aristotle said the basis of a democrat state is liberty. It's time. I hope you're ready, because I know what the cause is. And Patrick Henry says, I know what causes others may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death. Thomas Jefferson said, determined never to be idle for liberty. Are you going to stand idle? No. Are you going to stand idle? No. This election or next one? You better get up, and you better get people involved. We need to have double this, triple this every time if we can't get these people out of office. And we need to go out and knock on some doors. We need to make some telephone calls. We need to put out yard signs. You need to give some money. You need to get in your wallet and give somebody that's running for office that stands for the Constitution a $10 bill, a $5 bill, $1. We can all afford that. And then give them some time. Your time for a day knocking on doors is worth at least $100. While the Democrats and the Chambercrats go out and they pay people to go door to door. What were you doing? What were you doing? I'm going to tell you that today. For those who are sitting, I want you to get warm. Would you stand up with me? Would you stand today? Let's stand for this. Would you bow your heads with me? We really need to think about this for a moment. Father in heaven, you said in your word, if my people who are called by my name, your name, Lord, would humble themselves and pray and seek your face, turn from their wicked ways, and then you will hear from heaven. Forgive our sins, Lord, and you said you would heal our land. It's my prayer, and we stand together in agreement. Lord Jesus, protect our Constitution, protect our liberty, not just in faith in you, but Lord, protect us here in this country so that we may continue to spread liberty and freedom to those who may not deserve it, but that their hearts and their minds may be able to be turned towards you. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
All right, I'm the final speaker today. I do want to mention, if you want any of Camille or Haley's CDs, their dad, David, is over here, and they would love to get those in your hands. That was some great music. I think they have like about 15 songs in those CDs. Man, that was incredible. So if you can, support them. I want to thank each one of you guys for staying with us today, coming out here, caring enough about your country, giving a hoot enough that it means something to come out on Saturday morning. I see people all bundled up over here, all cold and stuff. Just pat your feet, just bang your feet, you'll be all right. I learned that on post in the Marine Corps. You just got to just keep on going. Some people say, why do you guys do what you do? Why do you care? Why do you spend sometimes hours preparing classes to teach total strangers? Why do you do this? What are you doing? Well, we're trying to fight to keep the Constitution front and center, because America and freedom is an absolute danger, folks. As I mentioned at the very first of this, we've got I don't have to agree with what he did in this film on the internet that was not the catalyst for the death of our ambassador. That's right. Was not the catalyst. That our president and his administration is lying to the American people. That they have this filmmaker imprisoned and incarcerated right now for what? For making a film with his opinion? I don't have to necessarily agree with his opinion. I've never seen the film. But you do not arrest somebody and incarcerate them and try to prosecute them for freedom of speech.
That's right. That's right.
There's two forces that are the most danger to us right now. One is progressivism, and the other is Islamic radicalization. Are we crazy? Well, let me tell you this. Right on September 25th, after President Obama spoke at the United Nations, the Pakistani president stood there and addressed that body. And he asked, in the United States of America, he asked whoa. I'll wait for him. Wizard of Oz, Wizard of Oz. We ready? You ready? Okay. But that Pakistani president stood on United States soil in the United Nations and asked that body, as if they had any jurisdiction in this country at all, to make it illegal to, even in the United States, to insult the false prophet Muhammad. And I am telling you, this is a very real danger. That man had the audacity to ask in the United States to make it illegal to say something against. Listen, I'm a believer in Jesus Christ, but somebody who doesn't believe in Jesus Christ could have the right to stand on the street corner and espouse their beliefs if they want to. I don't agree with Reverend Wright in Chicago, my president's pastor. I don't agree with him at all, but if somebody wanted to tell him he didn't have the right to say that, I would stand on the corner in front of his church and say, you get away, because that man has the right to say what he wants from his pulpit. I don't have to agree with it. On September 26th, the next day, the president of Egypt, a part of the Islamic Muslim Brotherhood, who before Mubarak was taken out was a part of an extremist group in Egypt. He stood there, spoke to the UN, and he criticized UN free speech. They don't understand freedom, folks. They don't understand it. And we think we're going to go over there with guns and bombs, and we think we're going to teach them and give. When you give them democracy, these people have to understand what freedom is. They don't even understand what freedom is. This so-called Arab Spring has left a power void that was filled by radical Islamists. Islam, folks, means, I'm a Sunday school teacher, so I teach some of this stuff, but Islam means submission. Now listen, if somebody wants to believe in Islam, that's fine, but that's the thing. I'm talking about radical Islam. Okay? Islam means submission, and their agenda is to usher in a new golden age of Israel and make Israel of Islam and make Israel America and the world submit to their religion. Well, I'm going to tell you something. The 90% of Muslims who do not want to die for the cause, who want to live in peace, the media, they're afraid to confront this cancer. And it is absolutely a cancer. It keeps the people, the 90% of Muslims who want to live in freedom and just raise their family and live their religion in peace, it keeps them in bondage. But they're afraid to confront this cancer. I'm going to tell you something. The Tea Party is not afraid to call it what it is. The enemy is radical Islam. We are not afraid. Patriots who honor freedom for all people around the world are not afraid. America will never be afraid to tell the truth. The other enemy that we face that is a very real danger to your freedoms and your children's freedoms is progressivism, statism, socialism, whatever you want to call it. It has one formula. It's idealistically atheistic at its core. Go back and research the early progressives, and it is atheistic at its core. It is the antithesis, anti what the founders' view is. And they have spent 100 years implementing it in academia, in legislatures. And now it has taken hold. And it's going to take each one of you to do your small part. But instead of worshiping God, they worship at the altar of government. And their agenda is to get into your wallet and spend your money on other people. Folks, we do need to take care of those that are downtrodden. We do need to take care of those folks that are less fortunate. But you must do it. It is the church. It is the people. We are to take care of each other, not rely on government to decide who gets what. That's not right. That's not fair. Their formula believes that rights come from a benevolent government, that the individual must sacrifice to the will of the state, that the individual is merely a pawn to be used and controlled. Their answer, just look at it. Look at the debates. Look at our president. The answer is always more government, more spending, more bureaucracy, more borrowing, and higher taxes. We can't afford it, folks. We're broke. We are flat broke. Now, don't get us wrong. Progressives are found in both the Republican and the Democratic Party. That's why you've had some people up here calling folks rhinos. What American citizens want is more freedom, limited government, and a simple and fair tax. We want jobs. We want prosperity. President Obama, in his naive, politically correct worldview and his sympathies for Islam, has produced an administration that refuses to tell the truth and name the enemy. Mr. President, the Fort Hood shooter was a terrorist. And it was radical Islam was his motivation. You do not say Allah Akbar and shoot our soldiers and not be an Islamic terrorist. And they're doing the same thing in Libya today. They're looking to arrest somebody as if it was a common mugging on the street. You have someone that has declared, and radical Islam has declared war on all free people, Europe, America, anywhere they live. Our president misses intel briefings during the Libyan event. He chooses not to meet with Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel. Instead, he opts to go on fundraisers with Beyonce and an appearance on The View. The audacity of this president, and believe me, it has nothing to do with the pigment of his skin. If I went to the Bahamas for a week, I'm quite sure I would come out with different skin. I don't care if he was checkerboard colored. I don't care where he came from. I don't care if his name was John Kerry, John McCain, George Washington, whatever. It's his views that we do not like. And they want to try to frighten you, because I'm telling you, I'm a believer in Jesus Christ, and we come from one race, the human race. The voters have a choice. You have a critical choice, folks, between two very divergent views of America's future. The president and his friends, as he called them in his second State of the Union, to my progressive friends, the president's statist vision is an overreaching government, and all it offers is food stamp rolls bursting at the seams. People want jobs. They don't want handouts. They don't want food stamps. Conservatives care. They want to hand somebody a leg up. They want to give them a hand up. They want to empower people. They do not want to give them handouts and then send them down the road. That does nothing for those people. Or we can do what the Tea Party has been emphasizing. And believe me, as a director of the Tea Party, I can tell you, the regular folks that have stood up are the reason we are even having this debate. It's because the people stood up, and it's the Tea Party that's saving America. We have the other vision, which is a re-emphasis on the Constitution and the Founding Fathers' vision that created the most successful economic system in the history of the world, a system that provides any person opportunity to rise above the circumstances of their birth. The Tea Party will continue to represent the forgotten man and woman, the middle class. We in your Tea Party implore you to vote for Mitt Romney for president, to vote for true freedom and true opportunity. Thank you so much for coming out. Please go by and get some information, get some yard signs, get some bumper stickers. Give if you can. We've got all kinds of stuff out there. Don't tread on me bumper stickers and flags and patches and everything else. Just please get involved. Thank you so much for coming out, and God bless America.
Well, can I pray to close this thing out?
Well, if you want to come up and pray, come.
Yeah, I want to come up.
We're going to pray to close this thing out with Mr. David.
Thank you guys, all of you, for doing this today, for everybody who came out. Thank you for the leaders. Give them a big hand, everybody. Did they do awesome? We need way more of these types of things. You know, what I appreciate about this is everybody got a chance to talk about God today. We're not afraid to say who we are, and we love Jesus Christ with all of our heart. So we're going to pray in his name. How about that? Amen? Jesus Christ, we thank you for giving us this country so freely, the freedoms we've been given. And we reflect that back to you, and we want to just say thank you, Lord. We want to say thank you for bleeding and dying on the cross for our sins and rising again so we can have a free nation. We know it's because of Jesus Christ this nation is a free nation. And no other nation on earth is free like this one because we put Jesus as no king but King Jesus in our revolution. So today, Lord God, we reflect that back to you. Bless every candidate. Bless this race, this presidential race. Have your way and have your will. Father, bring out Holy Ghost, Spirit-filled, godly people to the polls to vote. We don't have to bleed and die. All we got to do is vote. And I pray, God, that every man, woman, and child that is able to support this nation through voting will do it. And I pray, God, that everyone will take part in the overturning of this election and put God back in America again. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. Donations for CDs, if you don't have any money, come get them. We don't want it to leave this on the table. We want you to have this music. God bless you, everybody.